The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and we're webcasting to you live from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters in Tarzana, California. So thrilled to be back with you live on this wonderful Tuesday in the middle of August. We've been away from you for days now, and everything's already wonky this morning coming back, but couldn't be more thrilled to be here with you guys. Lots of things for us to talk about today. But the first thing we want to talk about is that this entire show is meant to be interactive. That's what our goal is always, to be here with you and to have a sense that we're all in this together and have a conversation, really. And we try to make it as possible for us to do it in real time. So Emily's going to show you some of the different things that you can do to participate in the show. And I have to say, before we go too much further, I mentioned Emily. Our dear Emily is going to be leaving us. And so I'm also going to be talking about Kelby. We have a new person who's here with us, and he is just as fabulous as Emily. I wouldn't have believed that that was possible. But you guys are going to love Kelby. So you'll hear me referring to him in the coming days as I would Emily. But in this moment in time, Emily is showing you all the different ways that you can be in touch with us. I will remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com. When you go there, there's lots of things for you to do there, including sign up for our newsletter. I hope that you will do that and share the newsletter with other people. We've got some great information coming to you on the newsletter and some ways coming to save money, which you know I love that. I'm all about that. But also on that live page, you can be watching the show, either the live show or the most recently recorded live show. For some of you, it will automatically start to play on other systems, depending on what your operating system is. You might get a computer screen and there is a triangle in the middle of the computer screen. If you click on the triangle, you'll be able to watch either the live show or the most recently recorded live show. And there's even a playlist button up in the corner that you can click on and cycle through and see some of the different ways that some of the different shows that you could catch up on, because we have over 500 shows in our library. They're all free to you. It's all meant to be information for you to use for inspiration and to further what you're trying to do to get the progress that you want. That's what it's all about for me. Whether you're a parent, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a practitioner, or you yourself are on the autism spectrum, we're all trying to make progress, right? And sometimes in the autism community, it's different. It just is different. We need different things in order to get to that progress. That's okay, because, you know, as Temple Grandin's mother, Eustacia Cutler, says, different but equal. Still, we want to get the progress, right? And if we have to do something different, it's okay for us to do something different. So we want to help you to get to that. It's going to look different for everybody because this is not a one-size-fits-all community at all. And that's okay too. I appreciate that. And we try to get you to whatever's going to help you to the next step. So please participate. Please write into us. By the way, when you go to that autism-live.com, it can connect you to our Facebook page and to our Twitter. I'm learning much more about Twitter and interacting with you guys much more on Twitter, so please participate with us there. Okay. There are a couple of things that I like to remind you of at the start of the show, that we will have lots of different experts on the show. I won't be one of them. I'm not an expert in autism, and I always like to remind myself and all of you that there are a lot of things that I'm adamant about, but I'm not an expert in autism. I'm a student of autism because my son was diagnosed with autism when he was 2.5, and he's now 11. Now, have I learned a couple of things along the way? Well, I better have, right? Right? Have I still got a lot more to learn? Oh my goodness. Every day it's a very humbling experience to learn how much more I have to learn about autism. But I have a passion for it because I saw very early, I got very lucky. very lucky. I saw very early that with the right help and the right support and the right knowledge, not only could a lot of people help my child, but I could be empowered as a parent to help my child. And he is now 11, and he is starting the 6th grade this week. Don't get me crying already. And he is completely mainstreamed because he has had, he had some abilities that were capitalized on, but we had the very best of treatment for autism, quality ABA from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. So you will see that I have a lot of people. We are in the CARD building, and we have a lot of people from CARD on, and I want to remind all of you as we're coming back from this break that they are an amazing group of people, and I'm forever indebted to them because they saved my child, they saved my life, they saved my family. And that, how can you ever say enough about that? And I do wax poetic about them, and I apologize about it from time to time, but it's, how can you stop talking about a miracle like that happens? But I especially want to remind all of you that quality ABA is available in many places, not just CARD, but certainly CARD does it amazingly well, and they do it in more places than anybody else. So I want to encourage you to check them out and see if you can get that. But there are also other really good quality ABA providers, and the truth of the matter is that wherever you are, you have access to what I had access to now through a series of online tools that you can have access to. So everyone has the ability to have what I had, and that's a wonderful thing to tell you about. So we will talk about that throughout the show, but we talk about so many other things as well. In this coming week, we're going to be talking about a lot of other things that are really, really practical. So why don't we get right into that? We like to start every day with something that we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym, and we try to make sense of it. Let's face it, most of us have come into this community not having a great idea of what all these terms mean, and we really don't have the time to go and get a master's degree in 1 week. But we need to understand these terms so that we can be helpful and useful in getting towards that progress. So we're taking a little bit at a time, demystifying some of these terms. We give you first the actual definition, then we give you a working definition so that you can really get a hold of this concept. So today, our term is IEP. Now, I am a former teacher, so I had heard of IEPs before, but it's a vastly different thing when you're a parent than when you're a teacher. And it's yet another thing when you're a student, right? So we need to have a little perspective taking here and talk about it from all sides of this. But what is an IEP for those of you who have never heard of this before? Because it's going to be important. An IEP, it stands for an Individualized Education Program. It is a federally mandated legal document that details education goals for a specific child within the special education scope. So is everyone able to get an IEP? No. It is just for individuals who are within the scope of special education. You have to have some sort of a diagnosis, some sort of a need in order to get an IEP. But let's look at our working definition to see what we're really talking about. It is a written plan to educate a child with special needs that must be followed, and it's legally binding. So if you have a child who is diagnosed with autism and they are getting ready to start school, usually your school district, depending on the state you're in, when they are 3, they are eligible for school funding. So somebody from the school should be in contact with you by the time your child turns 3. They're really supposed to do a transition meeting with you when they're 2.5. So if your child is 4 and you have an autism diagnosis and you still haven't met with the school district, call them. They should have called you. Somebody should have notified them, but sometimes things fall between the cracks. But at some point, when you meet with the school, even when they're 2.5, they're going to schedule the all-important IEP meeting. And what's going to happen, you'll be invited to it because you as a parent are a member of the team. If you are a teacher, you will be invited to it because you're a part of the team. And the child is usually invited as well. Sometimes that's not productive, so sometimes we choose not to have the child there till a certain age. But a lot of times the child is included in it fairly early. Really really up to you, up to the team, but I think the parent gets the biggest vote in terms of whether the child should or should not be there. So usually the IEP team consists of the parent, if the parent chooses to be there, and sometimes parents don't know that they are not only expected and allowed to be there, but that they really should be there. I would very strenuously urge you never to miss an IEP meeting for your child, because imagine allowing a group of people to decide what and how your child is going to learn for the next year without you being there. I can't imagine it, can you? So you want to be a part of that team. And as a teacher, you want to be a part of that team. And together, the team, usually the school psychologist or the resident BCBA is included. Sometimes the principal or vice principal or somebody from the administration is there. And anybody who is going to be on the team, if it's the speech and language pathologist, if there is an OT that's going to be there, an APE, look at all this jargon. So the speech and language pathologist is going to teach speech, the occupational therapist, which is the OT, and the APE, which is the adaptive physical education teacher. All those people would be there. So sometimes it's a big room, a big conference room, people sitting around a table, and we make decisions about, based on where the child is now, usually they'll want to do an assessment to see where they are now, and they'll set goals, IEP goals that say by this date, this individual will know how to do this. And then that team is accountable for those goals. It's really important. It's the recipe for success, or it's the recipe for stagnation, or it's the recipe for backsliding. So it's pretty important. And because it's legally binding, sometimes schools will give goals that don't push our children, because they don't want to be in a place where at the end of the year they haven't met the goals. As parents, I think we have to push to get goals that are a little bit harder in there. It can get contentious. We never want it to be, but what we want it to be is something that helps the individual child to achieve their goals and to progress. So very important. And I think one of the most important things is that we want to empower our teachers to understand the goals that are in the IEP, empower our parents to understand the goals that are in there, and to use that document to benefit the individual. That if it says in there that they're going to learn how to do something, that they have to learn how to do it, and we really have to pull out all the stops. If it says that they need a computer to participate in the classroom, then the school has to find a computer. If it says that they need an aide, then an aide has to be there. And if it says it in the document and it isn't happening, that's called non-compliance, and it's actionable by law. So if you have the right things in that IEP, you're set up for success. And if you don't, it can create that stagnation or the backsliding, which we don't want to see happen for anyone. So an IEP, crucial, all important. And all of our kids with autism should have them, IEP. And it'll roll trippingly off your tongue. You'll talk about IEPs to your friends and they'll look at you like you're crazy, but trust me, this is one that once your child is 3 years of age, this is a term that you need to know. All right, moving on. We always have a question of the day for you. And we know that, like my son, a lot of our kids are going back to school this week or next week or in the coming weeks. And so our question for you today is, what is your biggest goal for this school year? We've talked a little bit in the past about you have to know what your target is to even be attempting to achieve it, right? And you can't measure whether you're being successful unless you've identified a target and you've been measuring, are we getting closer? So we should be asking ourselves these questions. What's the biggest priority for this year that you want to accomplish? And, it's going to be different for all of our kids based on their ability. It's going to be different for all of our kids based on how old they are. But love to have a second later on to check in with you guys to see what's the biggest goal for this year. Because, sometimes you think, oh, well, I think it's this. And then you see somebody else and you go, oh, that's a much better goal. For me, I'm torn a little bit in this moment in time about, certainly one of the biggest goals is to get my son ready for junior high school. So that's working on a lot of EF skills, and I'm frightened. Can I just tell you how scared I am? But also part of that is social skills, that I really want to be working on hardcore on social skills this year. So I'll keep you posted on that. If I had to pick one, because it's all encompassing to me. That's okay. We could make two. We write our own rules, right? Okay, we always have a topic of the week that we like to share with you. And of course, you see the trend here. We're going back to school this week. And I know for some of you, especially on the East Coast, you're not going for a couple of weeks. But the truth of the matter is you're gearing up and you're getting ready. And I actually think that in some ways, the things that we're going to be talking this week are going to benefit you guys more because you've got some more time to prepare. Things like starting to get the bedtime a little bit early. Yeah, I know. I said at the beginning of the summer, let's not let our kids stay up so that we have to work backwards. And here I am, and my child's been up way too late. We do the best we can, and then we forgive ourselves, right? And we keep a sense of humor about it when we can. But we are going to talk about a lot of things going back to school, and we've got some amazing things planned for you in terms of that. So some of the things that we're going to be doing, though, today, we've got a wonderful guest who's joining us again. Juan Ronderos is going to be with us, and you met him a couple of weeks ago. He's going to be doing a new segment for us that I'm going to talk about with you in just a few minutes. We're going to talk about packing a school lunch. I don't know about you, but a lot of my friends have been posting on Facebook saying, oh man, I'm so glad they're going back to school, but there's a treadmill that I don't want to get on, the packing the school lunch and doing the homework treadmill. Oh my goodness. So we're going to see if we can't lighten that load a little bit by automating it's so common sense, but sometimes we don't think of these things. You know what I always talk about the duh factor. So we're going to try to make it the duh factor with the lunch boxes so that it's like, oh, this is what I do, and I just fill in the blank, and it's easy to do. And then we've got a lot of news to catch up on because a lot happened in the 10 days that we were gone. So all of this and ever so much more, but we're going to start out with Juan Ronderos. You're going to love him, so stick with us. We're going to be back after these messages.
Hi, I'm Ryan with Autism Research Group. We study ways to improve the lives of kids with autism. One of those ways is teaching safety skills, such as what to do if they get lost. We hit the streets to find out if anybody knows the correct answer on how to teach a kid what to do if they get lost. You're teaching a child
what to do if they get lost.
Yeah, you're trying to make them independent so they have the skills.
Gotcha. Okay.
Well, give them a compass. Code name's good idea. Centurion.
We always have this whistle.
Oh, I'd also tell the kid, don't get scared. You're gonna be all right, man. This is just the world. This is planet Earth. You're at home here. As long as you're on planet Earth, you're at home.
As long as you're on planet Earth, you're home. This guy's a genius. With that flawless logic, he just solved our homeless problem. And as for the unique sounding whistle, although very cool, it'll probably only work if you're in close proximity. And a compass?
I have her call me.
Yeah, she don't have a phone. Parents are like, you're too young, you don't need a phone.
Establish some sort of like meeting place.
What if they can't find a meeting place? Because sometimes the kids get nervous when they get lost.
Yeah.
So like a backup plan, plan B.
Yeah, I don't know. No, not really.
Let them go and find a new kid. Or
Yeah, I got a different one. Yeah.
There's not much you can do.
There is stuff you can do.
Like,
That's right, there is stuff you can do. In 2012, myself, along with my colleagues, Dr. Jonathan Tarbox and Dr. Adele Nadowski, published a study in the Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis on teaching kids what to do when they get lost. The study demonstrated how 3 simple things, rules, role-playing, and praise, were effective in establishing these help-seeking behaviors. The benefit of this method is it doesn't require the child to have a cell phone or to have to locate a meeting place, which might be difficult if they're in a place like Disneyland. So once again, our method included rules, role-playing, and praise. Let's head back outside and learn about some of these rules.
They should yell out loud. Can't find my mom, help me.
Maybe yell out and scream for help.
All right, scream really loud,
Correct.
and if that doesn't work, then,
I don't know.
well, they could seek help from someone.
Find an adult.
Yeah, go to a vendor, and say I'm lost.
Find an adult, like a police officer or a fireman or an employee in the store, and tell them, and maybe they can help you contact your parent. It really is that simple. You don't need to get your kid a cell phone. You don't need to establish a meeting place that they might not be able to find when they're lost and panicking. And you definitely don't need to give them a compass. All your kid has to do is 3 things. First, yell mom or dad real loud. 2, if that doesn't work, find an employee. And then 3rd, tell the employee they're lost. If they can't locate an employee, then tell them to find a mother with children, because that's probably the safest person to approach. I'm not saying that most men are predators, but most predators are men. That is a fact. I read it in a fortune cookie. All right, so you've gone over the rules with your kid, and you've quizzed them, and they're able to tell you the correct responses so they understand the rules. But is that enough? How do you know they're going to perform correctly in a real-world setting? You need to get out there and find out if they can actually do it.
So you'd go over the rules and tell them, like, do this, do that, but how would you know if they actually knew what to do? If you wanted to shoot a basketball, and I just told you, oh, when you shoot a basketball, do this, this, and this.
Never practice.
You never practice. Yeah, so it don't matter how many times we go over the rules or how well you can repeat them back to me. It's not going to change until you get on the court and practice.
Maybe do like a, a little skit with them.
Like a role play.
Role play, yeah.
Your child, you're lost in the toy aisle.
Okay.
What do you do? I'm an attendant, walking around.
I'm lost. I don't know where my mom is. And then once you practice, you just like praise them, give them feedback, like, good job, you did it.
Reinforcing it.
Yes, this woman wins the prize for best comment. She pointed out the most important part of learning, reinforcement. Now, in our study, we used praise, but for your kid, you might have to use something else. You might have to buy them a treat, a toy, take them to their favorite restaurant where they can eat unhealthy food and run around and climb through plastic tunnels that have the unmistakable scent of urine, and then play games spending $20 to get a plastic little spider ring that they will eventually lose in a ball pit. The point is, you need to reward your child for correctly demonstrating what you've been teaching them.
Okay, I'm gonna call her. Hello, your child. Ryan Oceans is missing. There you go.
Woo!
Yay!
So you tested it out
I'll
in the
try.
store to make sure I knew it. I had the rules,
Yes.
we role played it, and you made sure I knew it, and then like you said, good job, and all that. Now we're good to go.
We're good to go.
All right,
Done?
high five right there.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Give your child the rules, get out there and practice, and reward your child for responding correctly. For more information, please visit us online at autismresearchgroup.org. I'm Ryan Bergstrom. Thanks for watching. Yes, ding. No. Yes, this woman wins the first. Yes, this woman. Yes, this woman wins the best. Yes, this woman wins the first place. Yes, this woman wins. Why can't I say woman? Yes, this woman wins. What's the line? Yes!
Welcome back to Autism Live. We are so lucky and so fortunate that right now we have joining us once again Juan Ronderos. Now, is there a third part to your name? Am I saying the whole name?
Well, it's Juan Jose Ronderos Torres.
He says it so much better than I say it. You could just say that 8 more times. Don't we all love that? Okay, so Juan is here with us, and we've had him on the show before, and he is now a regular on the show. He's going to be with us on Tuesdays for the rest of August, but starting in September, Juan is getting his own segment here on Autism Live, which will be in Espanol, which we're very excited about. So tell everybody what your title is here, first of all.
Okay, so once again, I'm the manager for the Spanish department. So it's called Card Español.
Okay, so he's going to be filling in for us here on Autism Live. So many of you guys have written in and said, how can I get my questions answered in Spanish? And that's a reasonable thing to ask for, and we want you to know that we hear you and we know how important that is. And somebody already this morning wrote in and said, hola. And we love that. So Juan, as I said, he's going to be with us on Tuesdays for the next couple of weeks. But then he's going to start having a feature where he's regularly going to be answering questions with some other experts. And it will be posted on Fridays on our YouTube channel. So you guys can check in starting in September on Fridays on our YouTube channel to see some questions being answered in Espanol. I'm very excited to have you here with us. And he's so hard to look at too. Let's just say that you know, Juan, you're very wonderful young man who's doing really wonderful things and easy to look at too. Okay, so now I'm embarrassing you. That's all right. I'm old and married. It's all good. But anyway, it's a compliment from an old lady. But In any case, Juan is wonderful, and he's here with us today. And if you can't get enough of Juan already on Tuesdays, we should let you know that there is a video that you can get. Is it through IBT, Institute for Behavioral Training? Okay.
But it's for CARD Español. You can get it at the IBT website.
Okay.
Or you can go into centroparautismo.com. And at the bottom right, you'll see a picture of a mother with her daughter. Right above, you said how to teach, cómo enseñar obediencia, how to teach compliance in the home.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so if they click on that, it will take them to the IBT site.
Exactly. And then
there is a charge for the video.
Yes. You can purchase it for a month. Month basis, and it's $7.50.
Okay.
Or you can buy it a DVD, like a hard copy that you can keep forever for only $10.
Okay. So $7.50 or $10 if you want the hard copy to keep forever.
Yes.
But what an incredible thing for you and your entire family, and it's in Spanish.
Yes.
And I will let people know that there is also a video like that available in English on IBT as well, done by somebody else. But so now it's available in both languages. But let's talk a little bit about compliance. I know as a parent, I always say it's the best of times, it's the worst of times. If you have compliance, everything is good. And if you don't have compliance, everything kind of stinks.
Yes. So basically, when I'm calling and I'm going to all these health fairs, I'm talking to parents, mainly mother. In the Latino community, a lot of mothers are the ones that take action into getting treatment and stuff. So the biggest problem that I came across with is they're saying while they're in therapy, the child behaves very well.
Yeah.
But as soon as the therapists leave, then all of a sudden the child goes back to his old ways of not complying and throwing tantrums and just misbehaving, right? So they said, I don't know what's going on, how to do it, because a lot of times the parents are spoiling the kids and get them what they need. So they think only by doing therapy, then that's all they need, but they need to consistently follow through with the same principles of teaching that therapies have. So that's why we decided to translate this video that is already in English, how to teach compliance at home. So it's a tool to help the parents work with their child while the therapist or the supervisor is gone.
And I gotta say, when you learn these compliance tools, it's amazing. It's life-changing. It's not hard to do, but it's understanding a few simple components and then following through on them consistently. And your video helps to break that all down, to let them know exactly what they need to do. And that's available to you now. There were the two places you could get it, either at the IBT or say the name of the
centroparautismo.com.
Okay. And that's available to you. You can get that, and Juan will be the person leading the video, and you get to have a moment with Juan. And what a great thing, not only for you to do as a parent, but also for you to share with everybody in the family. So if Abuelita is watching the child from time to time, Abuelita needs to watch the compliance video. And, if somebody else is going to be watching, everybody needs to be on the same team and understand these rules. And once everybody does, your enjoyment of the child goes up exponentially.
Right, exactly. And that's you brought up a great point, how it's a team effort, you know, because not only the parents are going to be with the child 100% of the times, right? So you had to kind of train everybody around the child so that everybody's consistent on the way they're training the child. Because especially kids with autism, I learned this from the video. If you're not consistent following through with the steps of how to teach obedience, which is very simple, but effective, it can make a huge difference.
It absolutely can. And I remember when I saw the difference in my son, how he would be with the therapist, and they could get him to do stuff, and I would try to get him to do stuff, and he wasn't having it when I was doing it. And you feel horrible.
Right.
You feel like, oh, my child doesn't respect me. My child, I'm not a good parent. But if you learn these couple of things, then that bumps up. And then, so I remember me when I learned it, and then all of a sudden my husband came and said, I don't get why does he do it for all the therapists and he does it for you, and I'm the only person? And I said, you better learn these things. You better sit down and figure this out, pal, because there's a plan, and you can be doing it. And he did.
Okay.
So it really, and it doesn't take a lot. Anybody can learn how to do it. Big brothers, little sisters, everybody can learn how to do it, and then your life will be better. It's like having a party. So make sure that you check that out. We're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we're going to be talking with Juan a little bit about some of the cultural differences in our Latino community and how sometimes there's extra things, obstacles to be gotten over that we really need to take into consideration to be able to support these families that are underserved. So stick with us. We're going to be right back. More with Juan Ronderos. Stick with us.
Hi, I'm Lisa Ackerman. Welcome back to another Talk of Fact. We bring you the most common questions and share those answers that help your journey along for you and your family. One of the most common questions we hear all the time is, why are these doctors working with kids on the autism spectrum so expensive? Well, there's a simple answer. Kids with autism take more time, and unfortunately, if you look at a regular pediatrician's practice, they may see anywhere from 30 to 60 patients every day. So you may get at most 3 to 5 minutes with those doctors. With doctors that specialize in autism, they're called MAPS doctors, the Medical Academy of Pediatric Special Needs. They spend quite more time with each family and each patient. And that could be an hour to an hour and a half for each family that is actually being spent just talking about your child, looking at labs. So why are they more expensive? Well, your pediatrician probably gets paid a lot more per hour based on the number of people they see. A MedMaps doctor is solely dedicated to what you're doing and what your child needs. So look at it this way. If you're spending time with your MedMaps doc and you're working with that doc, and you will literally on average see somewhere between 4 to 7 hours per year. And then don't forget that other fact we talked about, how to get the best possible healthcare reimbursement, so you can make sure that that time is well spent, not only getting answers, but also reimbursed by health insurance. So there, another very detailed long fact from Talk of Facts.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We are here right now with Juan Ronderos, but I'm going to have you say your whole name again.
Juan Jose Ronderos Torres.
I just love the way you say trill the R's and say Ronderos. I like it. Okay, so Juan is here with us because you're the director of the Card Español program,
Yes.
and he is here as a resource for us, for our Latino community, to help us understand and fully both when there's a language barrier and when there's a cultural barrier too. Because let's face it, in every culture we have different things that are maybe a little bit more important to us, that are part of us, and there are some cultural differences in the Latino community which can get in the way of autism treatment, from what I've been told. So we want to talk a little bit about, for our Latino community, some things that can help you to get over those obstacles. So Juan's got some great advice for us.
Okay, so the main thing that I encounter when I talk to parents is, well, denial, right? It's very hard for a mom or a dad to, accept and come to peace with the fact that your child might be different and might be a little, have, a disability like autism or a disease. So I came with 3 little tips, well, 2 for a mom and 1 for a dad.
Okay.
The first, with mothers, especially mothers that have been able to successfully help their child and get them into the right treatment, and the child has come from not being able to function at all to being a very functional kid and being able to be successful, is go with your gut feeling. As a mother, you know your child, and you know if your child all of a sudden stops learning or is not quite right, and it can be very hard to look at that truth and accept it, but all these mothers that I talked to, they said, I had always had that feeling that it wasn't, and finally I decided to go and get help. So go with that gut. The second one is learn the science, and we work really hard in that's what we do in all the health fairs, is just to tell them, parents, that the CDC, which is the Center for Disease Control, has these pamphlets, right, that you can see very nicely here. It shows you the typical development of a child, right? So all the steps that a child goes through to
the milestones.
The milestones
that you want to make sure that your child is meeting.
Yes.
These kinds of pamphlets have the ability to make us crazy on the one hand, because we look at them and we worry constantly.
Okay.
But it's important, and I think the 2 things together, what you said about following your gut, I do think that one of the biggest things for all parents is that somewhere in your gut you feel like something is amiss, that something is different, that something feels not necessarily wrong. I mean, I hate to put that label on it, but you feel like something isn't what you thought it was going to be.
Yes.
And you get that little thought, and it's really good to compare your little thought to the pamphlet. And if your little thought is something is amiss and you look at the pamphlet and you're missing milestones, it's time. It's time to seek help. It doesn't mean that everything is over. It doesn't define you or your child, but you've got to get some help, because the truth of the matter is we've all learned this the hard way. You can't do this by yourself.
Right.
Autism is something that takes a team, and you can't do it by yourself. So when you're at the health fairs, are you giving those pamphlets away?
Yes, we always carry these pamphlets around, and and we encourage every mother, please know the signs. Like the pamphlet said, it's time to see our child development different.
Yeah.
And it's not just, oh, how cute the baby's growing, but is he meeting the right steps, especially with autism, since the percentage is so high right now, right?
And I would just add to it too that I was one of those helicopter parents who looked at the milestone things and drove myself nuts about, are we meeting this milestone? And a lot of them we had passed. We hit early.
Okay.
But then something happened and my son lost skills.
Oh. Okay.
So that's another thing that I will say to parents, you got to be on the lookout for that. Anytime any child loses any skill for any reason, it is time. You don't want to panic, but it is not a thing that you say, oh, I'll go to the doctor next week or tomorrow. You go today. Yeah. Because if it's not autism, it could be something that's significantly worse.
Okay.
You know, children are not supposed to ever lose a skill. And so I
always
wish...
moving forward.
Always moving forward. And so the pediatrician, if your child loses language skills and the pediatrician, and there are still pediatricians, this is what was said to me, oh, he'll get it back. Boys are like that. He'll talk a paragraph when he's 2. Don't listen to that pediatrician. It's time for a new pediatrician.
Oh, okay.
Honestly.
Yes. And that
children never lose skills for a good reason. Time to go to the doctor immediately if your child loses a skill.
And that's a really great point, because sometimes the mother does have that gut feeling and goes to the doctor or the pediatrician, and he diagnosed and said, oh, it's okay, he'll learn later on, and then she stays. But the proactive moms seeks a second opinion or third opinion, whatever she needs to satisfy that feeling that is telling her again something is not quite right, until she figures out, until she lands on somebody that actually is paying a little more attention and or is more qualified to diagnose the child.
And look, and we have Juan on our side saying, make sure you follow up on that and follow your gut. We have permission from Juan, which, we need sometimes. Somebody to remind us, no, you have that motherly instinct for a reason. Okay, now you also had some advice for dad.
Right. Now for the dad, this is more, again, for our macho ego, right? We're very... strong, and we want to provide for our family, and we want to take matters into our own hands, and hunters, So sometimes we feel very ashamed, and we don't want to share it. Oh, no, there's nothing wrong, and we would try to ignore that. If I go, oh, there's nothing wrong with my child, he'll be okay. But I just want to tell them that there's not a shame to admit that there's something wrong with your child, right? The real shame is if you don't get the help that your child needs, And as a dad, your role in life is to provide and provide, a healthy environment for your children. So even though autism is a disease that is very abstract, you can't see it per se, like a broken arm or something like that, take them to the doctor. Also, learn your size, get involved, because the mothers and the Latino communities, they're the ones that are out there and taking care of the child. But the dad, they need also that support from the father saying, you know what, I'm here with you, let me learn these signs and together go through it, because it's a team effort, because it's a very hard experience to go through.
And this is, I think it's hard no matter what the culture is, but I feel like there haven't been enough good examples in the Latino community of dads that are famous that have come out and said, this is what it was like. I mean, we have had examples in lots of other cultures that of a dad saying very publicly, this brought me to my knees. And I think that maybe that's the cultural obstacle, that we need some more of the Latino dads to step up and say, this hit me hard, doubled me over, and then I got up. Because we're hearing that from all the other dads. But in the meantime, I want for all of our moms and dads out there to know that's typical. That I feel like it does hit the dads, all of them, harder,
Yes.
and it makes them feel like they have no power to do anything to change it. But as soon as, for the moms that are out there, as soon as you empower the dads and show them the difference that they can make in their kids' lives, it gets so much better. So much better. So, but if there are some Latino dads out there who, you know, hear this and know that, or moms that are watching that know that their men have stepped up, we need some men. We'll put you on the show. You can talk to this community and say, look, this is honestly what it was like, and I thought it was the end of everything, but then I learned what to do, and now everything is better. We need some examples of that. I think that that's really super important. Juan, I just think what you're doing is so important. We've got a whole area of our community that has not had enough information and a champion on their side, and so now we have Juan, and we couldn't be more thrilled. And as I said, he's going to be with us on Tuesdays in August, but starting in September, you're going to see him on Fridays. Every Friday there'll be a fresh video there, and you can start writing in questions to him. If you have a question that you want answered in Spanish, or you have a friend that you know could benefit from that, where would they send the question? You want them to send it to us or to you?
Send it to your show. What I've been doing is I've been calling some of the parents and our clients and get in contact with a doctor and ask them the question, and then I translate it and answer to them. But I'm going to start to answer some of the questions in our Spanish show. So send it to you. I'll talk to a specialist, figure out the answer, and then come back to you with the response.
Okay. But in the meantime, the website again to go to?
centroparaautismo.com.
Okay, so check it out, and then tune back in next Tuesday. Juan will be with us, and don't forget to be looking on Fridays in September on our YouTube page. All right, we're going to take a break, and we're going to be back with more of Autism Live after these messages.
Welcome to Smarty. This month, we're going to be making our own chore spin wheel. You'll notice while we make this fun activity, these icons are going to be popping up onto the screen. These correlate to specific skill sets that are in the Skills program. Skills is the ABA-based online tool that helps parents build their own teaching plan for children on the autism spectrum. If you are a Skills user, this will help you get the most out of this educational opportunity. Well, let's get started. The materials you'll be needing are a large bowl to trace, cardstock, scissors, a pencil, a ruler, a hole puncher, a metal brad, and any other arts and crafts materials you want to use to decorate your pinwheel with. So step one, you're going to take your large bowl and place it on top of the cardstock and trace the circle. Step two, you guessed it, you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut along the line. Step three, you're going to fold the circle into quarters. This is the best way to make sure all the triangles within it are symmetrical. Once you folded the paper, you're going to take your ruler and you're going to trace those lines so you can actually see them on the circle. Now here comes the fun part. Take your arts and crafts materials and you're going to decorate the chore spin wheel. I used some crayons to color in every other quadrant so you could see them pop and see the difference between the different chores. Place the different adaptive skills your child is working on in the different quadrants. Once you're done decorating the circle and labeling the different chores in each quadrant, then you're going to take your scrap paper that you had left over and you're going to cut an arrow out of it. Once the arrow has been cut, you're going to take your hole puncher and hole punch on the very edge of it. This will be your spinner. Then you're going to take your arrow and your circle and line them up and take your brad and place it through and secure it. And voila, you have your finished chore spin wheel. Well, I enjoyed making this activity with you and I hope to see you soon. Until next time, guys, craft on! To find more about Skills and to access all of the lessons you saw in today's Smarty, visit skillsforautism.com and click on the parents icon. Skills, the online autism solution.
Welcome back to Autism Live. A lot happened in the community, and we're going to be covering news stories over the next couple of days because we can't dump it all at one time. But a couple of really critical things that have happened in the last couple of days that I want to make you guys aware of because I think it makes a difference for all of us. First thing that we want to talk about is there's a new study out showing that antibacterial compounds are dangerous to pregnant women and their unborn children. This is something that we've been hearing a little bit about for a long time. There have even even been some people who have postulated that perhaps the rise of antibacterial in soaps and conditioners and bags and all kinds of things may have played a role in the rise in autism. And I know I was told when Jem was probably 3.5 that I should stop using antibacterial things. I took it to heart, and a lot of people were like, what are you doing? Antibacterial is good. And now we're hearing a different story. And who are we hearing it from? The FDA. And so when the FDA is putting out warnings, then we know that this has gone quite far. So already the makers of antibacterial soaps and other products are gearing up to fight this, as the FDA is putting tighter regulations because they have found new evidence that the compounds pose a danger, especially to pregnant women and their unborn children. So one of the study directors, Benny Pike, who is a PhD, is going to be presenting next week at the 248th National Meeting and Exposition of the American Chemical Society. It is the world's largest scientific society. He's going to be presenting on a study. He says, we looked at the exposure of pregnant women and their fetuses to triclosan and triclocorban. And those are the two things that are mostly found in antibacterial soaps and other products. What they found, he says, quote, we found triclosan in all of the urine samples from the pregnant women that we screened. We also detected it in about half of the umbilical cord blood samples we took, which means it does transfer to the fetuses. And that the other substance, triclocarban, was also found in many of the samples. But if you go and pick up your antibacterial hand wash, the stuff that we squirt in kids' hands all the time, or any of your soaps on your kitchen sink or in your bathroom, you will look, and more than likely you will see that triclosan is in most or all of them. He goes on to explain that there's a growing body of evidence showing that the compounds can lead to developmental and reproductive problems in animals and potentially in humans. They have already found that it leads to shorter babies. They go on to describe in this study how difficult it is to prove which things it will create, because if it's causing developmental problems, it might be one thing in one child and one thing in another child, but they have already been able to show that there is a direct correlation to the amount of the product that you use and the length of your baby, which suggests that there are many more issues that it could be causing. They go on to say that a lot of times we've heard from some of the experts that we've had on the show that the FDA in the past, they will approve a product or approve a chemical for us to touch and put on our skin because the amount that is in that product is safe for us. But over time, if you use that product and then you use 8 more products that have that, you're getting more exposure than you should have. And then in this case, that is absolutely the truth. So if you were to have a little bit of this triclosan, that it may not have an impact, but so many of us are having it in so many products across a wide range of our day that it is critical exposure at this point. So they have already urged pregnant women to stop using it, and they have already, in the state of Minnesota, have already outlawed it. So you may have noticed about 2 months ago that a lot of stores were putting it all on clearance because there are some big companies that are already trying to phase it out of their products, while other companies are digging in their heels and fighting the FDA to not have a ban put on these products. I urge you to look at the studies, make your own decisions, but here's what I think is the most critical thing, is that Colleen Rogers, a leading microbiologist at the FDA, said new data suggests that the risks associated with long-term daily use of antibacterial soaps may outweigh the benefits. And this has been stated because when they put it side by side with other soaps, it did no better at reducing the risk of harmful pathogens than the soaps that did not have it. So it is not having a substantive effect of really preventing you against germs, and it could be putting you at risk for other things, including that it could be, they go on to state that it could be contributing to being the fact that antibiotics are now, we're becoming immune to them. So read the studies, choose for yourself, but especially if you are pregnant women, the FDA is urging you to stop using it. Now, we've had some big news. We've been talking a lot on this show about the Medi-Cal benefit here in the state of California. And I know for many of you who are watching, you're not in the state of California, but as we always remind you that California often leads the way in autism, and what our legislators decide to do, other states then follow. So there's been a significant battle over whether the Medi-Cal benefit now under Obamacare will cover autism treatment, in particular ABA. We got some direction from the federal level that looked very clear to all of us that it was saying that it was a benefit, and this a person from the state of California commented and said, well, we're going to look at it and see if we can afford it. And then last week on the 5th of August, there was quite a turnaround, and it's very exciting. So I'm going to read this directly from an article written by David Gorn. A state official said yesterday, this was on August 5th, that autism therapy clearly is covered under Medicaid benefit, and they hope to submit a state plan amendment by September 30th to start the process to make Medi-Cal benefit for those under the age of 21. Renee Mallow, who is the Deputy Director of Benefits and Eligibility at the Department of Health Care Services, Medi-Cal children are entitled to applied behavior analysis known as ABA therapy. And in quotes, right now we're working on the development of a state plan amendment. We want to engage the stakeholders in developing that, Mallow said. We're looking to have it submitted at the end of September and having it, you ready for it? Retroactive to July 1st. The DHCS received a standing ovation yesterday, that would have been August 5th, at the state hearing when Senate President Pro Temp Darrell Steinberg, who has really been our champion from beginning to end, announced the news. Today's announcement cements the original vision of SB 946 by ensuring that all kids, regardless of their insurance status, will have access to life-changing treatment. And that was the quote from Senator Darrell Steinberg. And he also went on to say, at the time, we recognized that SB 946 was a significant advance, but an incomplete advance. The circle has now been completed. We want to salute Senator Steinberg for staying on this, as Nancy Alspaugh Jackson would say, like a dog on a pork chop. Because these were the kids who, all of our kids needed it, right? And the decision that our kids that were in need and had Medi-Cal, maybe they needed it, maybe they didn't need it, was insane. We're glad that sanity has struck. And we're thrilled, and thank you to Senator Steinberg. I'm so sorry that we're losing him as he's terming out. But we have Senator Kevin De Leon, who's going to be in our corner now, and we're excited about that. Also, in other news, and this was sort of like on the 8th page of nothing, that President Obama signed into law the Autism Act renewal. This is the Autism Cares Act, which used to be called the Combating Autism Act, which is now more politically correct, the Autism Cares Act. It was one of 17 new laws that he signed late on Friday. It was with very little fanfare, but the law calls for $260 million annually through 2019 for autism research, prevalence tracking, screening, professional training, and other initiatives. Thrilling that it actually passed. We were asking all of you to have your voices be heard and make sure that your senators passed it, and President Obama did sign it into law. We now have that funding until 2019. We can all take a sigh there, know that we prevailed, and now we move on to the next thing. So just some of the news that we've had from the week that we've been gone. We're going to take a break now, and we're going to be back with more of Autism Live after these messages.
What is autism? What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
I've been asking myself that for a very, very long time.
Let me think about that one.
Trying to,
Jeez. Let me think. Oh man, that's a big one. Yes.
Autism.
Autism is a neurological disorder that affects many of our kids in different ways.
It's a learning disability that affects the cognitive functions of the brain.
A lot of people have the misconception that it's a disability, and it's really not.
I look at it as like a special gift.
When one person thinks differently from another.
It's an opportunity for everyone to learn to understand someone that's a little different than them.
Autism is the ability to educate.
They're given so much talent in different areas.
To me, autism means a chance to be with and be around people you really care about. Autism is beautiful.
It's a way of seeing the world differently.
It's always unique, totally intelligent, and sometimes mysterious.
Happiness that comes out of my son's hard work. It's a movement. Unpredictable.
That's right.
Awesome.
Love. The field I want to work in.
Laughter, fun, joy. Autism is beautiful to me.
I want you to remember these 3 words. There is hope.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We had questions that came in during the break, and we are thrilled that we're going to start to try to answer them as quickly as we can. I want to remind everybody that Dr. Doreen Granpeche will be with us tomorrow, and we have a bunch of questions for her. But this first one came in for me. It says, I've had PDD NOS on the spectrum of autism my whole life. I'm 25 years old, and I had a BCBA therapist coming to my house for 3 years. We stopped with her because she was not doing her job the way my parents wanted her to, and I never understood why. But I was going to ask, what's the next step my parents should take for me? We're military, and I'm on exceptional family member status. The BCBA therapist would tell me things like my smile creeped her out, making me have low self-esteem at the end of the day and telling me I'm a mess. I was torn up by this. I just wanted to know, are all BCBA people like this or just that one? I feel like she took our money and ran, too. When she was fired, I didn't understand why. I just wanted an apology from her. I can't talk to her because she said it was against her policy, which was the last thing that she told me. All I want is closure, if you know what I mean. Yeah. And of course you want closure because that's what everybody would want. And I think it's important for us as parents to know that when we have people come and work with our children, they're not all going to be wonderful. And it's something that we want to monitor and see if they're the right person. And sometimes we have to fire people if they're not the right person. And I would say to you that this person, it sounds like your parents really felt like they were the wrong person for you. And based on what you said, I have to agree with them, because anybody who makes you feel bad about yourself or tells you that your smile creeps them out, that's not a person that's good for you. And even the way you describe that you feel, I think is a really good indication. We all go through this where we will be around someone because we think that they're our friends, and sometimes they reveal themselves to you as not being a friend. One of the most enlightening periods of time in my life was when my son was going through something in the 1st grade with a boy at school who was being mean to him. And he said, I want to play with him every day at lunch. And he would be mean to the point where the boy was trying to choke him with the hood on his jacket and with the strings. He was trying to choke him on several occasions. And my son would admit that he was trying to choke him. And I was going through something in my life too as an adult where I had a friend who wasn't being very nice to me. But you kind of say, well, that's just who they are, and that's just, but I found myself saying to my son, when someone makes you feel bad about yourself, that's not your friend. And I stopped for a minute and I thought, am I living by this too? So I think it's important for all of us to acknowledge that. When someone makes you feel bad about yourself, that's not your friend. And this person clearly was not your friend. And all BCBA therapists are not going to be that way. They just aren't. I think it was just this person. And you asked, what should your parents be doing next? What's the next step? Well, I would encourage you not to judge all BCBAs by this particular BCBA. And it may mean that you have to interview and try out 10 of them before you find one that works. But if you found a BCBA who worked and who could help you to do the things that you want to do, it would probably be worth it to go through 10 of them, I think. Not sure, but I would also encourage you are so eloquent in the way that you've written this email. I would encourage you to sit down with your parents and say, this really bothers me that this person left, and I want to know exactly why, and I don't feel like I have closure on this. And maybe they can talk through it with you so that you get closure. Sometimes we want people to say that they're sorry, and they won't. And it's important that we find the way to deal with it even when they're not there. And I want you to know, no one should ever be talking to you this way. That's not appropriate. This person did not have your best interests at heart, so they weren't your friend. And I'm sure your smile is lovely, and that you are a wonderful person and you are not a mess. A person who is a mess could not have written this beautiful email. So you're totally okay. And it's probably not the last time in your life that you're going to meet somebody else who, for whatever reason, isn't okay and can't be nice to you. I feel sorry for that person because they had an opportunity to work with somebody fabulous like you, and it's their loss. So I hope that maybe writing more about it and about your feelings and how it makes you feel that this person was not nice to you will help you to let go of it and get the closure that you need. But I would definitely urge you to talk to your parents about it, and I would definitely urge your parents two things. Try some more BCBAs and see, and be clear with those BCBAs. We're looking for somebody who is going to help this individual to get better and not make them feel worse about themselves. That shouldn't be something that we should have to say, but why not? Why not say it so that you can weed out some people right away? And then I really think, because you're 25 and because you're so eloquent, I would love to know if you're involved in a group, a social group, whether it's something that's face-to-face or it's something online. Really want to encourage you to check out wrongplanet.net, because I think you're going to find a lot of friends there, people who have like interests and who are going to appreciate what a great writer you are. So write back to us and let us know how that goes and if we can be of more help. But most importantly, I need you to know you haven't done anything wrong, and this person did not deserve to be with you. You deserve to have somebody who recognizes how unique and wonderful and special you are. And for your parents to know that they did a good job in getting this person so that they're not making you feel bad about yourself anymore. All right, so write back to me. Let me know what happens. We're going to take a break right now. We're going to go to the A Word. It's an ongoing documentary made about Jack Riley, a little boy who was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2. He's having that early intensive behavioral intervention in his home. We drop in on a weekly basis to see what's happening, not only with Jack Riley, but also with his family. So take a look. This is the A Word.
Have fun.
Okay, bye.
I take. Oh. He's starting to sit a little bit longer, and he gets the idea, okay, if I sit, get my stickers, then I can go. This is actually a 10 token board, but right now he's only on 5 right now, but eventually we'll move him up to 10. It's a good way for him to visually see, that there is an end. Like, once I get all the board filled up with stickers, then I can leave.
Jessica does a preference assessment to see what Jack Riley wants to work for before she begins her first trial.
Okay, what do you want, pancakes or do you want bubbles? Bubbles. See, I want pancakes. Okay. Do you want pancakes or bubbles? Pancakes. Pancakes? Say, I want pancakes. Okay, sounds good. What's your dad's name? Mike. Mike, good job. Here you go. You want to put the J on? Put the J. J. Good job. Nice job. When's your birthday? December 15th. December 15th. Good job. How old are you? 2. Nice. Can you show me the fingers? 2. 2. Good job. Here you go. What's your mom's name? Cheryl. Cheryl. Very good. Whoops. Here you go. Put another one on there. Where does the K go? Good job. What does it say? Jack. Say Riley. There you go. All done. Here you go. Say it's good. Okay, go play. See you later. What? Here, you wanna bring the tractor? Elbows. The pig, yeah? It is a pig. Wait.
He's lining up the dinosaurs in a row.
Okay, buddy.
Lining up objects is associated with autism because it shows that the child doesn't know how to appropriately play with toys. This is why Jack Riley's therapists teach play skills, so you can learn how to learn. Playing is learning through imitation, and it also helps develop communication skills. This is why the behavior is redirected.
Let's make a bridge for the dinosaurs. Are they friends? Should we walk? Let's walk. Let's walk. Yay! Let's go play. What else can we do? Jack, what is this? It's
Is it this way? Is it this?
It's a this way?
Is it this way?
Is it a bridge? Did you make a bridge? It's a bridge. Can the dinosaur walk on the bridge? Walk on the bridge?
Walk.
Can you make the dinosaur walk? You do it.
Dinosaur walk.
Jack Riley, do it. Make him walk. Walk. Here, slide down. Slide. Whee! Ready? I want to do it. Ready? Whee!
Sometimes lining up toys can be appropriate play. Jack Riley lines up his blocks to build a bridge. What makes lining up toys an indicator for autism is when the behavior is limited and is the only way the child interacts with the objects.
That's more creative, Jack. At clinic, Sabrina suggested to make a visual schedule because he's been having a hard time walking outside. So look, what's this first? There's Dad, there's you, there's Miss Shireen. You're holding hands. Like you're walking on the sidewalk, holding hands. And then when you get to the grass, you stop. Look, you stop.
You stop.
Yep. You stop. And then what do you get to do? You get to run on the
grass.
Say run on the grass. Good job. The end. But yeah, so we were gonna show him like along the way as every step, like you walk out, you hold hand and emphasize holding hands.
Okay.
You hear you guys walking the sidewalk holding hands, and then the next picture is you guys stopping in front of the grass.
Okay.
Still holding hands.
Okay.
And then his reward is
you get to play.
You get to play on the grass. And he got the concept or the idea. Anyway, we'll see if put into play, will he get it? I'm sure he'll get it.
He'll get it. That.
Yeah.
Having a destination was the biggest thing for him. Like knowing what the goal was.
I think before you say come here, and he thinks it's over. And yesterday he'd be playing and Cheryl would say come here, and he would run down, and then she'd whisper, you want to go to the grass? And so he just was.
Good.
I think it's all been about, now we have to go in every time we call him.
Every tantrum he has are really a lot of his bad behaviors because he doesn't know.
What do you have to do first?
Remember, what are you gonna do first? So?
Hold what?
You want to do it or you want me to do it?
Hold what?
Since he sees your picture.
Hold hands. Go hold hands with Dad. Like the picture.
Good.
All right.
Remember like yesterday.
15, 16, 17, 18, 19.
See, we still hold hands.
Can
we
you
still hold hands. Stop.
Right?
We still hold hands.
Where do you guys want to
Right here, and then we made him ask.
Yeah, then we stop and make him ask.
Can you say, I want to play on the grass? Okay, go.
Yay! Go!
You gonna kiss it too? Hug her energy.
Come here. Come here. Let's go, girls.
Yay! Uh-oh, wet butt. Wet butt. Hey, do you want stairs or grass?
Grass.
Okay, stay with Mom. 10 steps. 10 steps, ready?
1, 2.
All right, stay with me.
10 steps.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You want grass? Okay, good.
Using a visual schedule has helped Jack Riley a lot on outings because he can anticipate what will happen next. And unlike last week, there has been no aggression or biting. Whether it's a token board or a visual schedule, having items JR can see helps him a lot to know what's happening next, and therefore be a lot less anxious.
What do you want? You want grass or do you want... Okay, go play.
Welcome back. So that was the A word. And I want to encourage you to watch that entire series on their very own YouTube channel. It's amazing the things that you can learn in watching this family and this little boy with all the things that they go through. Here was a perfect example. So many different things in this particular video that we just showed that, first of all, that play, how essential play is. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day about when we started ABA, when I tried to look up ABA on the computer everywhere, what we would see is the kids sitting at the table and they would, you know, point to something and say, touch this, and the child would touch it. And I was like, how is this useful? And I now understand that that's DTT, and it's just one element of ABA, that there's so much more. Because and this is one of the hallmarks of a good ABA program. If you don't know if you have a good ABA provider, how much are they playing with your child, especially with the young ones, but not just the young ones. If we've got teenagers, how are you going to teach them something just sitting at a table? It's never, ever going to work. We all are fighting to keep in our schools experiential things so that we really get an understanding of what it is that we're doing. And so our ABA should never be just at a table. That's not good ABA. That's good DTT, and that's something else entirely. You know, that would be like teaching a child to swim and only teaching them how to float on their back. You wouldn't do that. It would be maybe a beginning thing you would teach, and then you would have them flip over and learn all kinds of things. And you would never say we've taught them swimming until you've taught them how to you would never say it was just floating on the back. So in any case, I got hepped up. But really good hallmark of an ABA program, are they doing regular intervals where they're playing with the child, teaching the child how to play, using play as a reward, and giving them breaks. You're not going to get good results unless and they're not going to be good long-term results unless you're teaching play. And in the beginning, we do have to teach our kids how to play and how to play appropriately. And they're showing you with Jack Riley, you know, he wants to line things up, and it's tough sometimes as a parent to know what's the difference between a preference and an obsession. And they talk about it a little bit in the video. If all your child can ever do is line things up and there's no other play skills happening, that if it's not an obsession now, it's going to become an obsession. And it's okay for them to line things up occasionally. That's a part of play. But can they do other things as well? And we can very easily interrupt that pattern by introducing conflict and demonstrating and modeling what we want them to do. So along comes Jessica with the dinosaur, and she, you know, messes up the line of blocks and goes, I'm a dinosaur and I'm going to eat the whole thing, and catches his attention. He goes, oh, that's kind of fun. Then he gets a dinosaur and they're playing dinosaurs. Now we're not just lining things up and we're interacting. So, you know, great resource to watch this video and watch some of the different things. You see the token economy that they were doing there, where they were showing him you get stickers for doing things. We know that that's very important. Love that they were teaching him, there's a set of lessons in skills, because by the way, Jack Riley he's using the same curriculum that we all use in skills, and you have access to that as well. You can go to skillsforautism.com and have access to that. But there's a section of lessons that are general knowledge, and there's personal information, and part of what they were working on was personal information, and then the extended version of it is the general knowledge. So teaching a child, what's your dad's name? What's your mom's name? Where do you live? What's your phone number? How old are you? What's your full name? All of those things, because they're going to need that when they go to school. And we can poo-poo that all you want, but let's remember that we had Romario Snow in the studio with us 2 weeks ago, an 18-year-old who was lost on the streets of Los Angeles for 20 days because he wasn't able to go up. He has some verbal skills, but he wasn't able to go up to somebody and say, I'm lost, here's my mother's phone number. And until we empower our children to have those skills, I don't know what's more important, right? So teaching them those basic things, and then that will graduate for him into the general knowledge, which teaches kids all kinds of things that they might have a conversation with, which makes them able to communicate on the playground. It's a fascinating, fascinating lesson. But you saw at the end, if you had been watching before, the last episode before this, they were walking outside with Jack Riley, and he was throwing tantrums, and he was biting his mother on the hand, and you can see that mom's very pregnant. They end up having a baby girl, but she was being bitten on the hand when she was trying to walk with him. They'd be walking along, and he would just lean over and bite her. Perfect example, because you go, why is this happening? He's getting good quality ABA therapy. Why aren't all the behaviors gone? Because some behaviors will go away and new ones will come along, because guess what? He's growing. And when kids grow, they get new behaviors and they try to see what will work. This is why we have trouble with teenagers, because they get a whole new set of behaviors and they try to see what will work. And usually the new behavior is, let's see if we can drive mom and dad crazy, right? So he wants to get on the grass, and he does not yet have the verbal skills to say, I want grass, and to work up for grass, because he hasn't quite gotten waiting under control. So he bites her, and it's very effective, because mom goes, oh, and lets go of his hand, and he gets 3 seconds of the grass before they can go, that's not happening. Right? He got 3 seconds of grass. It worked. Why wouldn't you do it? So they take a step back. They get a social story together where they say, this is what's going to happen. There are pictures of Jack Riley. They tell him the rules, the social rules. This is what's going to happen. You're going to walk. And then you turn the page, and guess what else is going to happen? And then this is going to happen. And then you're going to get to be on the grass, and everybody's going to be happy. And, great. So he knows that this is what's going to happen. They go over it with dad. They go out to the grass. And mom says to him, do you want to go in the grass? Yeah, he wants to go in the grass. And she says, okay, you're going to have to do 10 steps, because we have to make him earn that grass. And we're also teaching a little bit of waiting here. And he doesn't want to take the 10 steps, but go back and watch that video, and there's a reason why they have mom do it before they have dad do it, right? Because mom already gets it totally. Dad gets it within a couple of weeks, but at this point, he's still like, does this thing work or not? I'm not sure. But mom knows she's got to stay calm, cool, and collected. And she's got to defend herself against the potential for biting, and keep her hand holding onto his hand and away from his mouth. And she says, we're going to take 10 steps. And he, and she goes, what? And she just starts doing it, right? And she's being very neutral. Everything's okay. And he's pulling and going, I don't want. And she's keeping the hand away from the mouth. And she goes 2, 3, and she works to the 10 really quickly. And she says, yay, we get to have the grass now. And Jack Riley's like, what's happening? What are we doing? Oh, I get the grass. Okay. Right? And so then the next time they do it, he's going to go through those 10 steps, because it's not that much to wait. And he knows he's going to get the grass. Perfect example of how we get compliance. Because you'll see that within a couple of weeks, they go outside and it's no big deal. He says, can I go on the grass? And she says, we need to do this first. And then she goes, now you can have the grass. And he goes. And it's compliance, and she's not getting bit, and it's not this dragging him back inside kind of thing. So the reason why they have mom do it first again, because dad is still like, why did this happen? This is bad that all of a sudden my wife is getting bit. And it's going to take him everybody has their learning curve, right? And this is a dad who loves his kids, man. He's an on it dad, and he does get it in a couple of weeks, but he's still a little unsure. So they're showing him this is how it works. And you got to stay calm, and you got to not say, when you do the 10 steps, you have to say, it's only going to be 10 steps and it's not going to be that long to wait. That sounds like the Peanuts woman. Wop, 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 wop. Who cares? I want the grass. So mom does it. She stays calm, cool, and collected. Dad learns to do that too, because dad sees, oh, that works. Okay, I have buy-in. I'm going to do it. Powerful show, you guys. Watch it. Use it as a tool. Share it with other people. It's free to you. You don't have to pay to watch the A Word. So check it out. And then we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and talk about how do we pack a healthy lunch. Oh my gosh, it's that time of year already. So stick with us.
Hello, fellow activists. Last week, we talked about step number 1, accept and embrace this challenge. Now we're moving on to step number 2, educate yourself. After my son Wyatt was diagnosed, I put up a sign over my home office that said Autism Central. I went to school in my home office every night after my husband and Wyatt had gone to bed because I was determined to learn everything there was about autism. That's because knowledge is power. Visit all the autism websites you can. Read all the books you can. Learn about all the organizations that are out there that offer free guides to help you. Some of them even offer mentors to help guide you. Find out about local support services. Find out about what educational services your child is entitled to. Get to every autism conference and seminar you can. I'll never forget the first autism conference that I went to. The first speaker was a beautiful, brilliant woman named Dr. Doreen Graham-Pichet. She spoke about a therapy called Applied Behavioral Analysis, or ABA. She told about how it could improve the life of children with autism, and in some cases, recover them. Now, despite the fact that Wyatt had been diagnosed for over a year, nobody had told me about this therapy. I remember calling my husband on the cell phone and saying, honey, I met the woman who is going to help improve Wyatt's life. And I'm happy to say that 8 years later, that's true. Are you feeling a little overwhelmed by all the information that's out there? Well, you're not alone. But try different approaches for your child. Trust your gut. Just 40 short years ago, mothers were told if their child had autism that they would have to be institutionalized, and in some cases they were actually blamed for their child's autism for failing to bond with the child. That was called refrigerator mother syndrome. Well, thank goodness times have changed. So until next time, learn everything you can about autism and keep the faith.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We are all this week talking about back to school. Our kids are getting ready, or some of you are already back to school, which is hard for me to believe. But my son's going back to school this week, and this, along with the back to school, comes the packing the lunches and doing the homework. So we're going to try to tackle both of those things. The lunch a little bit today, although we're going to add some more stuff to it Thursday, and next week we're going to talk a little bit about the homework situation. See if we can't get some compliance and make it a little bit easier from both ends of it. But so, okay, we're deconstructing how to pack a healthy lunch today. And I said before, this comes under the heading of duh factor, because sometimes something is so simple that when somebody says, well, just do this, and you go, well, that's a duh. Like, I should have known that. But the truth is our lives are busy and we're doing other things. So sometimes we don't think things through and automate them. So this is my attempt at automating the packing a healthy lunch with some suggestions to it. So, okay, one of the first things, and mine are out of order, which is just great. But one of the first things that we want to talk about is what's the equation? What's the recipe for doing a perfect lunch? And I don't know why this was ingrained in me, and I don't know where it was ingrained in me, but when I talk about this, sometimes other mothers go, wait a minute, what are you talking about. But for every meal that my son has, I start with the 3 basic components, and then you can add on to it, right? But there has to be a protein, there has to be a carbohydrate, and there has to be a vegetable. If I don't do anything else but get those 3 things on the plate, then I can go, I did a good job as a mom. Those 3 things are absolutely essential. I know that there's some other things that are essential too, but they'll work their way into the diet one way or the other. But sometimes if we're not mindful and on it, it will be all protein, or it'll be all carbohydrate, or it'll be all vegetables. So I try to think of the plate as being this, cut into thirds. I've got the puzzle piece there, but there's got to be a protein, got to be a carb, and got to be a vegetable. And I try at this point in his life to make them all equal and even. Sometimes you're not going to get it right, but if you have that in your mind, then it really can be very helpful. So next thing that we want to break down is, what are the proteins? And I know this is like old school, what are we talking about here? But there may be some things that you haven't thought about. So you've got your poultry there, you've got your turkey, your chicken, your beef, you've got your pork, you got your fish, which sometimes we forget. But don't forget also that dairy and cheese is protein, beans are protein, and soy is protein. Now, all of our kids are different, and some of them are on different diets. So you may have a child who's not having dairy and cheese. You might have a child who's not having soy. You might have a child, like my child does, on this list of protein, it's much shorter for my child. He does not have beef, he does not have pork, he does not have dairy, he does not have cheese, and only recently have we put soy back into his diet, and in very limited amounts, because it's not a huge amount of soy is not a great thing for boys. It is a good thing for girls, on the other hand. So, you're going to have to customize, but I wanted to give you a good sense of, and obviously there are more proteins than this, but to give you an idea of what some of the different components are, because I think a lot of times we don't think of, I could be doing that. And if your child can have dairy, that it's perfectly acceptable to have cheese. Even better if you do cheese and beans together, to make a complete protein, but these are, viable solutions. So moving on to the next thing that we want to talk about are carbohydrates. Obviously, these are rices, these are breads, all different kinds of flour are considered carbohydrates. We have tortillas. Any kind of corn is actually really considered a carbohydrate. I know we think of it as a vegetable, but it really processes more like a carbohydrate because of the sugar content. We have potatoes, we have pastas, we have peas. Now, notice that I didn't bother to put sweets on there because, quite honestly, we shouldn't be sending sweets in the lunch. And we are going to talk about fruits a little bit later, but anything that has sugar content, natural or otherwise, is going to be considered a carbohydrate. So I've listed some of the more healthy, easier to pack carbohydrates there. And then moving on to the vegetables, and this is where we really get into the rainbow. Everything under the sun, and I couldn't list all the vegetables on here if I tried. That would take forever. But useful to think, because sometimes we get into this mode where maybe your child will eat carrots, so that's what you give them all the time, but that's not eating the rainbow. So really think about eating the rainbow. We really have to make an effort to get green vegetables into our kids' diets, especially if our kids are not having dairy. If you're on the GFCF, then you have a responsibility, first of all, to make sure that your child's getting enough calcium, which may require a supplement, but then you need to be doubling down on the green leafy vegetables. So, and that's easy enough to do. If we don't, here's the real truth of it is, if you give your kid a lot of sweets, they won't want the green leafy vegetables. I don't completely know what the math on that is, why that happens, what the chemistry on it is, but if you have a lot of sugar and heavy on the carbohydrates, they don't want the green. If you make it so that it's proportional in that 3 thing, then all of a sudden they will eat the green vegetables. It's a great magic trick. Try it. Trust me. Okay, so moving on, there are those extra things that I was talking about. We have fats, fruits, and drinks. These are the kinds of things that we're going to pack in the lunch. So for the fats, some of the things to think about, because there's lots of different things that fats could be. If we can move that slide on, because I don't have the same slides that you guys have. I don't know why I don't have this. There we are. So think of some good fats. Avocado is great in a lunch. Put it on a sandwich. It's a great fat. It helps to, it helps the brain. It helps all of the joints. And it's a really good, powerful, fabulous fat. It processes really well. There are oils. Make sure that if you're doing any kind of an oil or any kind of a dressing that has oil in it, try to be organic. I can't even tell you how not good for you a non-organic canola oil is, and I know that's the thing that everybody touts. Oh, canola oil, it's so fabulous. It really isn't, and especially if it's not organic, and it's really hard to find good organic canola oil, and it will be expensive if you find it. You're much better off looking at the olive oils. They're much more readily available. They're better for you and for your child, and they're going to be much cheaper, and you're going to be able to get them organic, get the extra virgin olive oil. And if you want to cook with oils, let's say that you're going to fry something, we want to stay away from the fried foods, but if you're going to, you're not going to want to cook that in the olive oil. Try coconut oil, but get the organic coconut oil. I can't even tell you how much better everything will taste, and it's better for you. It will process better. So, and then another great one that packs in lunches is tahini. If you haven't tried a tahini sauce on something for your child, I encourage you to try that. A lot of our kids like hummus, and hummus has tahini in it, and it's just a really good, stable, great to send in a lunchbox, very powerful, good for you, and easily gotten. You can find tahini in almost any store now. I know Trader Joe's makes a wonderful tahini sauce that's got some lemon in it. Ooh, it's fabulous on everything. Put that on a little bit of lettuce, and I guarantee you your kids will eat it. Okay, so moving on from fats to our fruits. Here are some good ones that I listed here because they pack well. They go into a lunch really well. We can do apples, and I know they make those pre-processed sliced apples. Make sure that you get one that doesn't have chemicals on it. If you want to save money, slice the apple yourself, dip it in a little lemon juice. It won't go brown, and it will have just a little bit of tang to it when your kids, and you can put it in the lunch and it'll be fine. Pears are great to pack in a lunch. Those small cutie oranges are easy to peel, and they're the right bite size and give a little bit of boost of energy, but not give them the sugar high and crash, right? Stone fruit that are things like peaches and plums, only for the kids who are older who will know to eat around the pit and not eat the pit, right? We don't want a choking hazard. Things like grapes and raisins are really good in a lunch. It's a lot of energy, a lot of vitamin C, easily eaten, very socially acceptable. Things like melon cut up. What a treat to get watermelon in a lunchbox from time to time. And of course, bananas, if there's no allergy, they go really well. Good to work on hand skills to be able to peel some of these things. And then, of course, for drinks. So when we talk about drinks, it's what's going to work in a lunchbox. And I should have put water in the biggest because honestly, none of our kids are getting enough water, and it's what they do need. They don't need the extra calories, and they will drink water if it's what's available to them. So I encourage you to send water in an appropriate BPA-free bottle for them to be able to drink. You can send juice, but if you send juice, make sure that you're sending 100% pure juice and preferably organic juice. They have them in the juice boxes now that you can get them, and there are even some that you notice coconut water is next. What I love to send are the ones that are juice boxes that have a little bit of juice and coconut water in them. We know that coconut water is one of the best dehydrators. It's so much better than some of those processed drinks that are sports drinks, and with a little bit of juice in it, it really has some zip to it, and it's really healthy, low calorie, not going to rot their teeth, and very good for them to hydrate. And of course, there's also the choice of milk and nut milk, and I'm told that you can get nut milks now in the juice boxes too, because part of it is being what it looks like for the other kids. And those juice boxes that are the coconut water or the 100% juice that's organic or the nut milk, it looks like everybody else's box, and that goes a long way for our kids socially. So notice I did not have soda on there, and I, as a former teacher and as a mom and a person on this planet, we honestly, if you give your child soda at home, totally your business, but I want to really encourage you, and we're trying to get schools entirely to ban things like sugared milks and sodas. Our kids do not need the chemicals, and they do not need the acid, and they don't need the sugar in lunch. It's not going to set them up for success. So keep it out of the lunchbox, and then it's not a non-starter, right? Okay, so how do we pack the lunch? This is a big part of the equation that makes it a pain in the you-know-what. How do you get it in the box, and how do you keep it cool? So I've given you 3 really great examples here, and I know that there are more, but the first one, and we've given you the website, easylunchboxes.com. This is a whole system. They are BPA phthalate, or however you say that word, free. They look like the old-fashioned Tupperware, and they're segmented off. If you have a hard time packing a lunch and you don't know what else to put in, if you follow that 3 pie chart that we gave you and you have one of these things that's already sectioned off, it will make it a no-brainer for you. So it comes with a bunch of the different, and you can buy separate containers, but it starts out with a 4-pack. It's really all you need, and it's cheaper than any lunchbox that you can find, and you can get the insulated in any color in the rainbow, the box that it goes in. Easylunchboxes.com. I'm telling you, it's a great, great thing. Now, if you really like to off-road it and you don't want to be in the structured thing with the lids, and you don't want to deal with the lids, and that's not a part of what you want to do, then I really want to encourage you to get a packet. Packet are these lovely, you can see it in the middle there. It folds up to look like a billfold, and you throw it in the freezer, and then you take it out in the morning and you shake it out, and it opens up, but the sides of it are iced, so you don't have to have an ice pack, and it keeps things cold for 10 hours. It's the most wonderful thing ever invented. And they come in all different patterns. There's something for little kids, there's something for older kids. It's absolutely fabulous, and it's Velcro, so there's no zippers to deal with, but it's truly wonderful, and you can stick all the little baggies or your own closure things that you have in there, and it will keep it cold for longer than any other lunchbox, and you're not having to deal with the ice packs. What a non-headache that is. And then the last thing that I really want to recommend is, a lot of time we send things in those Ziploc bags, and I say Ziploc because Ziploc is the brand that if you're going to use the plastic bags, use Ziploc because they are BPA free. But not necessarily the best thing for the food, not necessarily the best thing for the environment, right? Want to encourage you, this wonderful product that we have here that I've given you, it's from Natural Value. They're wax paper bags. And so they're perfect size that you can fit a sandwich in there, you can fit a snack in there, and you can roll them down and they stay closed on their own. They're waterproof so that things don't get soggy, things don't roll out. You can microwave things in them. So if you need to heat something up, they're fabulous, and they're non-toxic, and they're landfill safe, and they make such a difference in the environment. And I have found that they actually keep things better than a Ziploc bag. So truly spectacular. As a mom, I really love being able to give those. So, and I think, is that no, we have recipes after that. So these are some ways that can help you to pack the lunch a little bit better. But so you put all this together, and what do you end up with? Some examples of what might be a lunch, for instance. So there we have the first one. So you can make a turkey sandwich. And by the way, you could put that on rice bread if you're gluten-free, and get a really nice, I love the Applegate organic lunch meats because there's nothing else in them, and they're gluten-free, casein-free. So a nice turkey sandwich, you can slice some avocado to be on it. You could even slice some tomatoes on it if you wanted to. And that's a lovely, lovely sandwich. Stick it in the wax paper bag, or stick it in the Easy Lunchbox container that has the area for sandwich. You can pack some carrots, and you could even put some tahini or salsa on the side with the carrots, or not. If your child can have a ranch dressing, get one that's organic, and you can put that on the side. Send them with a bottle of water and a banana. That's a really healthy lunch. Probably they won't get through the whole thing. You don't have to do more than that, and that's a no-brainer. We've got our protein, which is the turkey. We've got our carb, which is the bread. We've got our fat, which is the avocado. We've got the carrots, which are the vegetable. We've got a water, and we've got a fruit on there too. And you could change any element of that, and it would be a great, easy, no-brainer lunch, right? So let's go on to one that maybe is a little bit more exotic, a bean and cheese burrito. And you could put whatever veggies you want to put in the burrito as well. You can put lettuce in it, but you've got your tortilla, so that's your carbohydrate. You've got the beans and the cheese, which are your protein. And you could put in some tomatoes or salsa or lettuce, whatever, as I said, to add more. But you could also put some cucumbers, cut up cucumbers and cherry tomatoes on the side in one of the baggies. Send a juice box, and as an extra extra because you've got already the fruit in the juice box, you could send a little baggie of popcorn, which counts as another carbohydrate because there won't be that many carbohydrates in the tortilla, and you've got a little bit more exotic lunch, right? That could be very fun to break up the monotony. Let's go on to yet another example. And one of the things that I got from my son last year, because I had always been worried about keeping things cold, but there's some things that he likes to eat hot. And he had said to me he really wanted to be bringing a hot lunch to school. So we got a small thermos, and it keeps things really hot. And one of the things that he's really been into this summer is different pastas. And I have on here a zucchini pasta. And we showed you on the show that thing that's called the veggetti, that you put the zucchini in and it turns it and it makes a pasta out of the zucchini. He loves to have that with spaghetti sauce and some sausage, so that packed into the little thermos, and then give a box of raisins, organic. Don't ever get raisins that aren't organic. Really want to encourage you. They're on the Dirty Dozen list, so get those organic. A thing of coconut water, and I loved the chips that are the taste good variety that are olive chips. So there's some corn and some olives ground up into them, so you got a little bit of fat in the olive chips, and some corn in there for the carbohydrates, because otherwise you don't have a carbohydrate. You've got the vegetable as the pasta, you've got tomatoes in the tomato sauce, you've got the sausage, and you've got the raisins for your fruit, and you've got the coconut water for your drink, but you need to have a carbohydrate in there, because otherwise, if I sent that lunch with just the squash pasta, I can tell you what would happen is that around 2:30, all of a sudden, he would not have as much pep. We got to make sure that we get enough carb in there so that our kids can get through recess and their brain can continue to work. So those are just 3 examples, but start to think about how can you mix and match those 3 core things: the protein, the carb, and the vegetable. And by the way, I go through this with my son as well, and he now helps me to pack things and to plan a lunch. And then when we're eating, I'll say, what's the carb on your plate? What's the protein on your plate? What's the vegetable on your plate? Because this is the way to have a balanced meal that makes sense, and their blood sugar isn't going like this. It sets them up to be able to learn, and it sets you up to not be hysterical going, what am I packing for a lunch today? And gives you the peace of mind that you know you've been a good parent and that you're sending them with something that's healthy. So there you are. That's our equation for packing a healthy lunch. Now on Thursday, we're going to try to feature some of the snacks that kind of jazz up, that make it a little bit more fun. So we'll give you some ideas for that on Thursday. All right, we're going to take a break, and we're going to be back after these messages.
Skills is an online program that provides assessment, curriculum, positive behavior support planning for challenging behavior, and progress tracking, and it does this all in one place. The skills assessment and curriculum addresses 8 areas of development, which even includes advanced higher level areas such as executive functions and cognition, which pretty much makes skills the only ABA-based set of curricula for teaching more complex skills, things like problem solving, planning, self-management, perspective taking, and even inferring and predicting others' private events. Skills is a 4-step system. Step 1 is to add the child to your account. Step 2 is to start assessment. The skills assessment is the only ABA-based assessment with psychometric research demonstrating the language subscale to have excellent reliability. Every area of human functioning and typical child development from infancy to adolescence was researched, making the skills assessment the most comprehensive of its kind in the world, and we're quite proud of that.
Skills is easy to use. Simply click Start Assessment and begin answering questions. Or simply type in a keyword, find specific activities to assess, and add activities to treatment. Step 3. Choose activities. Once you've completed the assessment, Skills selects from a pool of 4,000 activities categorized by age, level, and skill type to provide you with exactly those activities each child needs. Start by choosing a curriculum, then a lesson, and finally an activity. Click the information icon to view prerequisites, ages in which targets develop, examples, and IEP goals. Click the video icon to watch a short video. Once you've identified an activity you want to teach, adding activities to treatment is a snap. Step 4. Start treatment. Here you can access customizable activity lesson details, add your own customized targets and exemplars, and edit an activity status such as introducing or mastering it. You can even print handouts such as worksheets, tracking forms, visual aids, and other materials. Skills also offers multiple progress charts mapping curriculum progress, lesson progress, and cumulative number of activities and targets mastered over time. The Skills language curriculum is categorized by verbal behavior type so that users can identify progress for verbal operants, such as echoics, mans, tax, and interverbals.
Skills is one of the only programs that provides the ability to write behavior intervention plans, or BIPs, for challenging behavior.
With just a few clicks, the outline of the behavior intervention plan is written for you and ready to be printed and implemented.
You can learn more about Skills today and get started by visiting us at www.skillsforautism.com, or you can call us at 877-975-4559. Skills. Progress starts here.
Welcome back to Autism Live. So we had a question come in the live feature, and the live feature just quit on me. But what somebody wanted to know, how can I seek other funding sources? The gist of it was that the regional center has granted them 15 hours. They said that they had medical insurance, but the regional center has granted 15 hours, but they know that their child is going to need more than that. Well, first of all, I want to say kudos to you for knowing that your child needs more than that. Kudos to you for going through the regional center and getting 15 hours, because it's like putting a puzzle together, right? How do I piece together the pieces? What are all my funding sources? So you've got a good base, but you know it's not enough. You are exactly right. It's not going to be enough. So I want to start with, you said that you have medical insurance, and obviously if you're talking about the regional center, you're in the state of California, but this would be true for anybody in any state. We want to start with looking at, is your medical insurance going to cover something? I'm going to guess that because the regional center said that they would cover 15 hours, that you probably don't have medical coverage, but make sure. I know that you have medical in general, but not medical insurance that will cover ABA. And there are lots of reasons that why in the state of California that you would have medical insurance that wouldn't cover it, but the biggest one being that probably your plan is a self-funded plan, because I believe that all three of the major plans have the 10 essential health benefits, which will cover ABA. So the biggest reason would be that it's a self-funded plan. So you are going to have to look for some outside funding sources. But send a bulldog in first to talk to your insurance company. And here's what I mean about that, is that we are in a flux period where insurance companies, how do I want to say this and be nice? Because honestly, insurance companies are companies, right? And they're in a business, and they're in the business of hedging their bets and getting money in and hoping that if they get a wide enough pool of people that not everybody will use the amount, and they know that once your child has autism, you're going to not only use the amount that they had allotted for you, you're going to use more, right? So sometimes you will encounter insurance people who try to make it extra difficult for you to encounter the money, and sometimes they'll just drag their feet a little bit before they do what they're supposed to do or to do what's right. But we're seeing a trend that even with self-insured companies, that if they encounter lawsuits in another state, sometimes they're making the transition and they're making single case exceptions where they'll cover it for one person. And then if they've already covered it for one person, that leaves them open to having to cover it for other people. So send a bulldog in. Get with your ABA provider. If you're with CARD, I know exactly who it'll be. It'll be Bryce Myler, and she'll call them up, and you want a bulldog like Bryce Myler. Bryce Myler's son recovered from autism. And she's an insurance expert. Nobody understands more than she does how important it is for you to get those hours, and she knows the right words to use and the right way to say it to insurance companies. And if Bryce can't work it out so that you don't have coverage, then you don't have coverage, right? But she's been able to work it out with a lot of people. So, and I would encourage you, whatever ABA provider you're using, put it on them and say, find out, see what you can get me. And they will know, they should know anyway, what to do to get you coverage. If that doesn't work, then you're going to have to piece together more. And what a lot of our families have opted to do, because you can spend a lot of time running around and getting funding for things, but let's remember that there are going to be other things that you have to fund as well. What a lot of our families that have this 15-hour problem have decided to do while they're working it out is get educated themselves and be able to fill in another 15 to 20 hours themselves per week with family, friends, and volunteers. you know, the truth is, if you can afford it, and I guess there are people who can, you can hire people to come in on the side and pay out of pocket. And I have known some people in the past that have had the ability to do that. Not so much in this economy right now. So know that there are a lot of people who are out there who are doing it literally on a dime. So if you're trying to do that and supplement those hours while you're figuring out other funding or finding another employer or fighting with your employer in a nice way to try to get them to fund it or applying for grants, and I'm going to tell you about some grants in just a second, but those things take time and you don't want to be losing this window. So you can sign up for Skills. It's one of the reasons why we talk about Skills so much. It's an online curriculum that will give you all the tools of all the things that you need to teach. It has a low monthly subscription for it that's infinitely less than what you will pay to have ABA therapists come. Unfortunately, though, if you don't know how to implement those things, you're still dead in the water. So the companion piece to that is to go to ibehavioraltraining.com. You can scroll through. They have individual trainings. We were talking with Juan Ronderos earlier about how to get compliance, and that video is available for $7.50. So you can do that, and you can do it. It's almost like going to college, that you watch the video, but you can do it in the order that you need to say, okay, what I want to teach my child is this. So I'm going to watch that video today, and I'm going to share it with my family and the volunteers that I have to teach them how to deal with this individual lesson. And you can go through and do that a little bit at a time, so that maybe this week you pay for 2 videos, so it's $14, and then next week you pay more. Now, I understand that for some of you, the idea of paying $7.50 for a video and having to buy multiple of them over a period of time is still something that feels overwhelming financially. Please do not think that I don't get that, because I do. I have been there. And I want you to know that no one should be left out. That if you cannot afford Skills and you cannot afford IBT and you're trying really hard to get the rest of these hours met while you're doing everything else, there are grants that you can apply for through ACT today. I believe that they've got a grant phase opening up very soon, and they love to give grants for those kinds of things because they know that they will make a huge life difference, and they are relatively, compared to everything else, they are relatively less expensive, and so they can help more people to do that. So ACT today loves grant requests for those kinds of things. But you can also request for them more than that. You can definitely, the highest grant amount that they can give is $5,000, which won't get you very far in terms of ABA, but it's not nothing. So you can apply for that. And there are also several other organizations that give grants for treatment as well. You can apply for a grant from the United Children's Healthcare Fund. You can go to them and they give $5,000 grants one time, but that can help you. You can also, if you don't want to switch your employer, but you want to switch your insurance, we are coming up in just a couple of months in November. You should be able to reapply starting November 1st for any one of the covered California plans which do cover ABA. You will still have a copay, and you will want to plan accordingly for that, and you may need some grant help for that, but you can switch your plan in November. That is when there is open enrollment for covered California. So all of those things together, and of course the two things that I advocate as well when people are looking for funding sources: have a fundraiser. Do a Kickstarter, do a crowdfund thing, do something in your neighborhood, let the people around you know, I need to raise some funds, whether it's for the copay, the deductible, the premium, or just to pay for the ABA until you can get to the November 1st. People understand that sometimes you have to raise money. Look, if your child needed chemo and you needed to pay for it and your insurance didn't cover it, everybody would understand that if you did a fundraiser, right? People do that all the time. We did a fundraiser for our child. Don't be squeamish about it. If you need a fundraiser, do a fundraiser. And also you can email me directly and I can give you some tips on things to do to help yourself to do a fundraiser. And then the last thing is that sometimes what parents have done in the past is gone ahead and paid for it out of pocket with a loan. I really caution you if you're going to do something like that, because don't put yourself so far in a hole that you can never get out. But there are some great organizations that give interest-free loans, but you have to start paying them back almost immediately. The Jewish Free Loan Association, you can Google them and find them. You do not have to be Jewish, and they will give you a loan for your child's health care, but you have to pay it back because it leaves a pool for other people. I had to do that at one point, and we paid it back in full so that other people had those funds. But it takes a village. It takes a village. Don't be squeamish. Ask for the help that you need. But there is a way for you to do this, and that's the most important thing that I want you to know. Probably the easiest and the least expensive, while you're figuring out the more expensive things and applying for grants, is to do the skills and the IBT. And you may need help with that as well. So keep us posted. I hope that's helpful to you. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and address some of your answers to the question of the day, which was, what is your biggest goal for this school year? So stick with us.
The Institute for Behavioral Training provides courses in applied behavior analysis for the treatment of autism. Access IBT e-learning videos on the move and learn at your own pace.
I'm going to talk a little bit about intensity.
IBT e-learning makes any location your classroom on the go.
So our objectives for today are to really learn what is autism and how is it diagnosed.
Get professional guidance with IBT face-to-face training. IBT face-to-face training courses prepare you to effectively implement ABA-based interventions. Choose between small group and one-to-one instruction. Earn BCBA supervision hours via one-to-one video conferencing.
So I had a chance to review your BIP today. You know what? It looked really good. You did a good job with it.
IBT continuing education courses. Earn credit through webinars, conferences, article reviews, and e-learning videos. You can learn more at ibehavioraltraining.com. IBT, 360 degrees of ABA training.
Welcome back. So we're taking a look at your answers to today's question of the day, which is, what is your biggest goal for this school year? Very enlightening. I loved what you guys wrote. Somebody wrote in and said, for my son to receive a party invitation. You know, I had a moment this morning where I was talking to a friend and trying to, it was one of those moments where you realize that sometimes other people just don't get it. They just don't get it. And this brings it all home. That could be your biggest goal for the school year. It's a reminder to all of us about some of the things that we're dealing with. I think it's a great goal. I'd love to hear about some of the different things that you're doing to ensure that that happens, but man, my heart goes out to you. Another one is for the teachers to get some updated training on ASD. I have found myself the last couple of days doing the Serenity Prayer because that's a great goal. I just don't know how much control we have over it, but we can push for it, right? We just have to be mindful that we do as much as we can, and the rest, so it's that Serenity Prayer of grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I think that we do need to be pushing for our teachers to get more training, but then we need to acknowledge that, sometimes they're just not going to do it. And I love this other one, for my son to get dressed for school without a fight and saying, you can't make me go. Now, what I love about that statement is that he's verbal enough that he's saying, you can't make me go, which is the truth. It's the truth, right? We can't make them go. But the other side of that equation, I want to know, what would make him want to go? What would make him thrilled to go? And it may not be something that happens at school. It may be the treat afterwards. It may be you go to school today and you get this. But it's never good to send somebody off to school who's fighting and not wanting to get dressed and saying, I don't want to go. I really want to know, if you're watching, I want to know what's going on there so that we can work on. I know that we get to a point where our kids don't especially love going to school, but we have to make things that are exciting for them to be there, and when they get home, because we can't make them go forever. Another person who said for my son to get off the big bus and get a smaller bus, for me to get out of the school he's in, that they don't have the right program for my son, and put in a school that has the right program, classes, and teachers. I think that's a great goal. I hope that that's working out for you. If you need help, let us know. I would need to know which school, what program you're trying to get into. Love to make some phone calls on your behalf. Another person who says improved communication skills using PECS, etc. Great goal. I hope you're using technology with that along with PECS, because you know you can do PECS on technology now on iPads and other devices. We have a great guest who's going to be with us on Thursday who uses assistive technology to speak, and he can tell you how important it is to give that technology to our kids. And I love the Joe Montaigne fans have written in today. We love Joe, don't we? They said for my oldest to come home and say he made a new friend. These are the things that matter to us. And there were some that you guys wrote in on Twitter as well. Let's see if I'm smart enough and savvy enough technology-wise. Somebody wrote that they want to get their son in school. So I'd love to know more about, because we should be able to get all of our kids in school. Okay, they're telling me we're almost out of time, so I want to just go through a refresher of what's happening tomorrow. Tomorrow's a huge day for us. So first of all, we have Dr. Doreen Granpeche back with us tomorrow. She's going to be answering your questions live during Ask Dr. Doreen. Then in the second hour, Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson is going to be here with us, and we have two Patricias with us. Patricia Herrera is with us, and she is from LA 211. This is an amazing service that is sweeping the nation. 211, you know, we're all used to dialing 911, and then we got used to 411. Well, wait till you hear what 211 does, because sometimes it's the answer to all the questions that we have. So that's going to be really exciting to have her here. And then we have Patricia Leach, who's here with us from the Journey, I believe it's the Journey Beyond, which you're going to love her. You're going to love both of these. Patricia's is going to be a really fabulous day. Then on Thursday, we've got some really special guests who are going to be here with us. The first one is Mike Hipple that I mentioned just a moment ago. Mike, who communicates on assistive technology, was going to be with us on Thursday talking about autism in Wisconsin. And we just got confirmation this morning that we've got another young guest, a 17-year-old, who is a railway enthusiast and has an autism, he's got a page that is just for people to post around the world pictures of rail cars. And he's going to talk to us about how that lowers his anxiety, how finding something that you're passionate about and giving into it can help to lower your anxiety. So that's on Thursday as well. But over the night, please be sending in your questions for Dr. Doreen Granpeche. We're excited to have her back tomorrow, for us to be back with you answering your questions. We already have a couple, but I'll take some more. We're totally out of time, but so great to be back with all of you. Thank you for being here. Please, until tomorrow, give your kiddos a hug from me. Bye-bye for now.